and I mean it, American progressives must answer for the monster that they've created. This is, let me see if I can quote an analogy that describes this the best. This is a electric car company who boasts about how they're helping the environment and how this is great and save the trees, blah, blah, blah. Right? Meanwhile, the batteries that they use coming from factories that are very unclean, and the longer that the battery production continues, the more chemicals are seeping into water supplies, right? And people are getting sick, people are dying. But all the progressives see is how they're saving the environment with this electric car, right? Behind the scenes, there's death and destruction and suffering, and they're never held accountable because the only people who hold them accountable are clowns like Shapiro and Crowder, who will lie about them, be deceitful in terms of being misleading, you know, misrepresenting what they're saying, half-truths, right? And a lot of what they do, because these guys are some of the tops in the game of propaganda, so a lot of what they do is the truth. They tell the truth. They lie with the truth, right? That's the way you do it. So then when people challenge you, you can say, it's the truth. Tell me where I lied. You're lying with the truth. The things you're saying is true, but the way you're saying it, the way you're framing it, you're leading people towards a lie. And if you're really good, like a Ben Shapiro, you have complete immunity because you're like, hey, I never said that. I never told them that. It's not my fault that they drew that conclusion, right? And you pretend as if that wasn't the whole idea all along. So what is the poison that's going down the river that no one talks about, right? The only people critiquing these people with their electric car mission, an analogy, to be sure, are people like Ben Shapiro saying they're trying to turn the country into socialism and they want the borders to be completely open and this and that and Biden's a socialist. Nothing to say about the actual stuff that they're doing that actually is a problem. And I'm not saying that Ben Shapiro doesn't bring up anything that's actually a problem. I would never say that. But generally speaking, the real problems of what these progressives present are not going to be discussed by Ben Shapiro. Why is that, you might ask? Because to acknowledge the actual problems, what progressives are doing are to dive too closely to the reality that some of the stuff they talk about is actually good stuff, poorly executed. Right? He's supposed to be the opposition. He's supposed to be the one saying that all their ideas are stupid and bad, bad. Right? So you don't want to give an actual good faith critique because somebody would say, wait a minute, if that's the problem, why don't they just make a few adjustments to what they're doing and, you know, what they're doing could actually be pretty good? No. We must pretend like everything they're doing is socialism, disaster, is going to ruin this country, blah, blah, blah. Progressives are all dumb, right? But if those are the only people that are offering the critiques, right? And no one ever gets to know about or discuss the people that are dying because of the poison that is being created by these batteries. And then you have someone like me, a true independent, who goes and I try to bring, you know, this to people's attention. Because I don't pander to my audience, my channel is kept small. I reach out to people whose channels are not small, who used to speak to me, and all of a sudden they ghost. They don't disagree with me, they don't challenge me, right? Not a single one has disagreed with me. Not a single one has said a peep. They just all go silent. These progressive thought leaders. If that is the conduct of the people who are coming up with the ideas these are the ones that are spreading these ideas to the audience, and this is how dishonestly they behave behind the scenes, what hope do we have for the audience that they're speaking to? What is the monster that the progressives have created? My rights and the rights of an entire city are being ignored and neglected, all because of the poison leaking from the batteries being created, not the car directly themselves, right? Progressives pushing for these cars. The cars themselves are not the problem. It's the batteries that fuel these cars and the manufacturing of those batteries that no one talks about. So people ask me, what are the progressive policies? It's not necessarily, I mean, sometimes it is, not necessarily the progressive policies in themselves. It is sort of collateral damage. It's a consequence, right? A consequence of their policies has created a monster that's living in my house, who is above the law, who is accountable to no one. A person who has probably not paid rent in 2 years. A person who has an entire city subservient to them. Entire fire department rejected. Entire police department rejected. Today we brought in a handyman and a locksmith. Handyman rejected. Locksmith opens the door, rejected. Police officers come by, they say they're going to arrest him if he doesn't stop acting crazy. Then he starts scaring them with, his, what's the word, protected class language, right? We're disabled, we're whatever they're coming up with, right? They just name drop whatever protect. Oh, you can't mess with them because blah blah blah. Like there's some kind of what's the word where you're from another country and you get, is it domestic immunity? I forget the term. You know what I'm talking about. You're from out of the country and you're here and you get those plates. I forget those plates, and like I guess you can't be arrested or something. I don't know. Diplomatic immunity, right? He's on some diplomatic immunity, right? They threaten to arrest him. He starts talking about protected class. 2 minority police officers, mind you. When the police, things are so bad, when the police arrived, I was not optimistic. I was waiting for them to back down. I was waiting for these scammers to come up with some story, and they would be like, all right, well, we can. But they actually pushed forward. They're like, hey, we're gonna come in. You gotta let him do his job. Then they started saying about arrest. I'm like, great, finally, this will be the first time this guy's been held accountable for anything, right? Disingenuous right-wing media talk about the left supports crime and criminals and criminal activity. Bad faith, disingenuous. However, and I'm not mocking, I'm not saying that it's not bad faith. They do make bad faith attacks on the left. However, what is this if not protecting criminal activity? We all live in a society together. We all are held accountable for our actions. We all have to follow certain rules. None of us get to run the show. So how come these guys do? Water's dripping on the bedroom of a 3-year-old child and a 12-year-old. This can lead to mold. This is a health risk. And this one guy is preventing an entire city from being able to do anything about it. It's been 4 or 5 days now. The leak is there. I'm unable to do my duty, which I'm paid for. My tenant pays me for a safe living environment, right? Me, the evil landlord. Evil landlord here is trying to do my job, trying to protect this family. I went above and beyond. Everything I could possibly do. Just setting this up today was crazy. Coordinating the handyman and the locksmith and the police, and went to the hospital, went to City Hall, doing research online. All the while, I have my work. How do I pay my bills? I have a job to do. And I gotta be running around all just so we can fix a leak. So now what I'm supposed to do? This guy, and especially this is like Trump, like with the Trump indictment. After all that Trump did and all of this noise about indictment, I'm not very positive that they're gonna actually hold him accountable. They're gonna put on a good show for sure. Things are going good right now. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, I think somehow they're gonna let it slip through the cracks, and then he'll just get away with a slap on the wrist. But that's not the problem. The real problem is the message that it sends to him and others. If you let people get away with crazy stuff like that, you're enabling them to do worse. This guy's been getting away with stuff for 2 years, and now this is probably the biggest pushback he's seen. Right? We literally opened the door against his will. The police were ready to go. They were pushing on the door. He's pushing on the door. And yet, all he has to do is this, that, protected class, protected, we're innocent. And not even the 2 children who are being affected by this is enough to let the police stay committed. Too afraid, perhaps, of, not perhaps, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Too afraid of PR, bad PR. You guys went in on this poor innocent family, and this lady she had a heart attack all because of you sick police. We do have a big problem with police in this country. There are a lot of bad cops in this country, and it's not a few bad eggs. But they are good cops. They're not all bad. In fact, and again, this is another reason why progressives don't want to talk about this. This is why you won't hear this on progressive media. I don't know if you guys will hear me at all, but another reason why you won't hear about this on progressive media, another reason why I don't want to talk about this stuff is this guy is operating above the law, and we have kids in danger, and we are paralyzed to do anything. Cannot do anything. The police won't even protect my right to access my property and to repair my property. They won't protect the handyman, protect the locksmith. You know what the police say to me? This is progressive, like this part. They say if they go in, they can see that he's being combative, so it's a risk to the safety of the fellow officers. TYT would love this part of the story. It's a risk to the safety of the officers if they go in and enforce the law. And of course, they had to throw in at the end, it's a risk to our safety as well. TYT would love that part, right? Officers with their big old guns and all this kind of stuff. And what are they worried about? They're not worried about the safety of the little girl below. They're worried about the safety of themselves. That's a message you get on TYT. But the thing I was getting at, where I'm saying another reason why the progressives don't want this stuff to get out, why they try to silence me, right? Why they ghost me when I try to engage with them on this stuff in good faith, is because it goes against their rhetoric. Remember, police are supposed to be the bad guys. And again, remember what I just said. It's not a few bad eggs. There's a lot of bad cops, right? But the rhetoric that you're getting from TYT is a little bit overboard, right? You watch enough TYT, you think that cops are out to get you. all cops are bastards, right? That's what you'd think. Well, consider that idea and consider what I'm telling you about what happened. Let me give you the full context. This is a guy who's been a pain in the ass to the local police department for probably years by now. This guy has threatened the police multiple times, insulted them, said all kinds of things, right? And remember, TYT, cops are unhinged and blah, 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 blah. And if you say that the only thing protecting this guy is that the door was closed, right? They don't want to break down the door or whatever. But even that, I mean, let TYT tell, they're breaking that door down. You threaten a police officer, they will shoot you through the door. No knock warrant, son. Okay. The door was open today. Right? These officers have been threatened. They're sick and tired of this guy insulting them. And the door was open. Let TYT tell it. Today they busted in and they punched the poor guy, and the guy just needed he's having a mental episode. He just needed to be talked to. And they busted in and they killed the poor guy. All because some greedy landlord wants to fix a leak. I mean, wants his money. I mean, whatever, makes them sound bad. But that's not what happened. They didn't bust in. They had the ability to get at this guy. He's making threats. I mean, this is all the stuff that they like, right? He's got a gun. He's got a gun. I think he's got a gun. The guy threatened to shoot people. He threatened the police. And the police had the door open. They could have gone in. I'm not saying go beat him down, but the least they could do is shut him down, which is, that's their job, to protect my rights, the handyman's right to do his job. I mean, we have a right to be able to go and do repairs. The police are supposed to enforce the law, right? The law states I am supposed to have access. These guys are denying me access against what the law states. Yet the police refused. Even to a pain in the ass guy who has been a pain in the ass for years, making a mockery of the entire city, several departments. Yet these unhinged cops come in and they're polite and professional and sir, talking to him calm, trying to de-escalate, doing everything the way they're supposed to. And I say once again, it's not a few bad eggs, there's a lot of bad cops. But TYT, Russiagate on that one, right? Russiagate, actual real thing. Russians interfering, not trying to, interfering with our elections, but not really having much of an impact, right? So them interfering with the elections is bad enough, right? That's bad enough. That's a big deal. Foreign countries messing with our elections. But it was framed as if they actually were successful, and that's why the elections were the way they were. That's nonsense, right? So yes, there's a lot of bad cops. Yes, there's a systematic issue with the police department, but the level of Russiagate is pushing it too far, making people think that all cops are bastards. These cops are not bastards, right? If you hear the kinds of insults that have been made to many of these officers and how professional they've all been, everyone's been professional. Firemen, policemen, they try to reason with the guy. They try to be understanding, de-escalate, right? Doing everything they're supposed to be doing, right? Progressives don't want that to come out. A story where the police actually do a great job. Great job minus the handicap, right? I mean, if they felt empowered to do their jobs, I believe they would have. I could see a motivation. They wanted to go and protect. The guys are ready to go in the door, right? But they got nervous. This guy slick talk, and then we got to get the sergeant. They want to make sure they're covering their bases, because they know. That's the other thing. Again, this is downstream of progressive policies and rhetoric, right? If they were to go in there, these people could very, very easily Get in touch with somebody like TYT or whatever. Oh, this poor landlord, and you won't believe the thing this crazy landlord has done, and he's such an asshole, and then he bring the cops, and we're just sick, and we're down in money. And then that'll be the next story on TYT about how some asshole landlord making the police come knocking down some door of some poor innocent family, right? And never mind the impact on me. I'm talking about what's the impact to the police. You put that out there in the media, making the police the bad guys again. You think they want that? What's the safer bet? Maybe we back down and just make a report. Maybe we don't protect the rights of this citizen who pays a good part of our salaries, 30 grand a year in taxes, property taxes. Maybe we don't protect his rights. Maybe we focus on protecting ourselves from being thrown under the bus by the American progressives. And for the record, all those policies and programs failed. I reached out to Adult Protective Services, dead end after dead end. I reached out to the local hospital, dead end. City Hall, dead end. I couldn't even get my attorney to even comment on this. Contacted my attorney on Friday, no response. Contacted several times today, no response. Contacted his assistants, all the other attorneys at the firm, the other assistants at the firm. AWOL since Friday. Complete dysfunction. And this is a simple matter, just need to do a simple repair. This is downstream of progressive policies. Not because the policies are fundamentally bad, but they're being pushed by unserious people who aren't taking the time to see where the issues are to address them and constantly make them better and better and better. They're stagnant. They push for a policy that sounds nice, and then they just hold on to it, and anyone who challenges it is a right-winger, right? As long as the policies that sound like the stuff, their rhetoric, it goes with their rhetoric, is going along, and they can have some metrics to say, we reduced homelessness by 2%. That's all they care about. The focus is more on going after the right wing for their bad faith attacks, and they are bad faith attacks. However, you spend all the time on going after bad faith attacks, but then you ignore the good faith attacks. What does that make you? Good faith or bad faith? This is Baby Channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Like I said, progressives must be held accountable for the monster that they created. They have enabled this man to be above the law and accountable to no one. An entire city is subservient to one guy. Not even the safety of two children can override this guy. He's untouchable. He's above the law. No one will touch this guy. He can do whatever he wants to do. 5 months of trash. Now the new tenants tell me she's got a lot of mice in her place. Mice that's attracted by this guy with his 5 months of trash. And I'm powerless to do anything. Thanks to the progressives. That's why I stand alone. I'm not left wing, I'm not right wing, I'm not center. I'm me. I look at things as an individual. What makes sense, I agree with. What doesn't make sense, I disagree with. I'm not into rhetoric and tribalism and being with this group and that group. I don't want friends. I'm not looking to fit in. Fuck that. I want truth. I want things that make sense. I want things, not even just make sense. I want things that work. Right? Progressives got a lot of great ideas. Wonderful. Now can we work on the execution of those ideas? And let's stop ignoring the damage being caused by those ideas because of the unserious executors of those ideas, the unserious champions of those ideas. All right, guys, I'm out. Insane. Now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do for these children.